What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, I want to talk about Vitali Kravtsov actually leaving the Vancouver Canucks for Russia. I am a few days late on this. I'm actually recording this a few days after the announcement, or a day after the announcement, but I'm uploading it a few days later. So it's going to be like a few days from the time I record this. I'm definitely late. I'm like 4 days past this. But I still want to talk about this because if you guys don't know, the Canucks are my favorite team. And I feel like this is something that I've seen around the Canucks community a lot, and Vancouver Canucks fans kind of talking about this. So I want to give my opinion. I've seen people say this is poor asset management, but I also see some people say it's worth the gamble. So I want to give you guys my opinion on it and kind of break it down and just give you my overall thoughts. Before I get further into it though, as always, if you guys are new to the channel, it'd mean a lot if you guys subscribed. Like the video if you enjoyed, especially if you're a Canucks fan, please subscribe. I do plan on making a lot more Canucks videos and just hockey videos as we continue into the off season and into next season. I would like to do more stuff than just jerseys. It's kind of something I've been trying to branch out of recently. So yeah, let's get into it. So the Vancouver Canucks ended up trading Will Lockwood, who's a 26-year-old forward who played majority of his time with Vancouver in the AHL, but played some games in the NHL, and a 7th-round pick over to the Rangers for Vitali Kravtsov. Now, Kravtsov was not finding his fit in New York, and he did not want to play in the minors. He essentially said it's either NHL or he's going back to the KHL, which was a big worry and is why the New York Rangers decided to trade him, and is also why the Canucks got him for essentially nothing. Like I said, Will Lockwood probably won't be an NHLer, definitely won't be an NHLer for the Rangers, and a 7th round pick. So we essentially gave up almost nothing to try to give Vitali Kravtsov a chance and give him an opportunity to play. So what happened is when he came over, he did play in the NHL. He played quite a few games in the NHL. I'll put his stats up on the screen. They aren't anything amazing by any means, but I mean, he did still play some NHL hockey for us. I personally found it hard on where he would fit into our lineup and fit in with our roster. We have a lot of wingers, and he just wasn't really fitting under Rick Tocchet, our new head coach's kind of method and the way he wants to play in his structure. So I think Kravtsov kind of found it a little bit tough playing in Vancouver. I'm not saying he's bad, but I'm just saying he seemed to find it pretty tough to play in the NHL. So when the season ended, I think majority people thought he's 100% not a lock in the NHL for next season, that he could play in the AHL, and he's really going to have to fight his way and make amazing strides this offseason to make the lineup next year. And I think Kravtsov also knew this. I'm sure his management and I'm sure him and his family knew his chances of making the NHL next year on the Vancouver Canucks aren't really that strong. I think that's why he took this deal to go back to Russia. He did make it very clear to the Rangers that it's either NHL or back to the KHL, and he did not want to play in the minors. So once I think he felt like I don't have a chance to make the NHL, he kind of maybe felt like he just, there's too much competition, he wouldn't make it. He didn't want to play in the AHL. He just said screw it and signed a 2-year deal over in Russia. Now the Canucks can qualify him, which means when he's done that 2 years, or even if he decides not to play the full 2 years and come back to the NHL, they get him back on the team and they get first stab at him again on signing him. So not all hope is lost. He's still relatively young. I mean, look at the time we got Kuzmenko. He's 26-year-old coming over playing the NHL for the first time and lights it up. So there's still hope for him to go over to the KHL, spend a couple of years, maybe play better, get some confidence, and just have fun again. And then maybe he decides, hey, I played good in the KHL for 2 years. I want to come back to the NHL. The Canucks are the team that can get him again and give him another opportunity, which I think when you think about it like that, it's not all hope is lost. There's still a little bit of hope there. Now, as far as the trade in the first place, like I said at the beginning of the video, I've seen a lot of people talking about this, saying this is bad management from the Canucks, really bad asset management. And as much as I agree, I disagree. I think the Canucks are in that situation right now with their roster where they can't wait necessarily for these 18, 19-year-olds to hopefully play good to make the NHL. I think they have to take a swing on a few of these players who just haven't proved it yet in the NHL and are a little bit older, and just hope that they develop. I mean, they kind of did it with the Horvat trade when they acquired Ratu. I think he's not necessarily a young, high chip prospect, but he's somebody that I think a lot of teams kind of have some upside. They see some upside to him. There's definitely upside to his game. He's probably I think his ceiling is a 3rd-line center, and his floor is AHL player, maybe a role depth player. I don't see him being that superstar player, But the Canucks didn't, like, sure, they gave up a lot in Horvat, but they also got the first. They ended up getting Hronek with it. So, like, all in all, I think it was a fair, good deal. And I think the Canucks need to take advantage of these players that teams are almost giving up on, and they're almost like, I don't want this guy anymore. And the Canucks can maybe try to get those kind of players and give them a fresh start and hope they turn into the player that they originally were supposed to be. If I go back, I would make that trade the Canucks made with the Rangers 100 times out of 100. I'd make that trade 100% of the time. I think it's 100% so easy to play that gamble, in my opinion, because if it works out, you got yourself a third liner at best, a second liner who fit in with Kuzmenko, Podkolzin. He seemed to like it there with his time. Again, I don't think this going back to the KHL is him not wanting to be in Vancouver. It's more so him not wanting to play in the AHL, and I think he knows he's not good enough right now to make our NHL roster. I think that's more what it is. I could see him, if he did decide to come back, like I already stated, I could see him wanting to play for Vancouver, especially if we still got players like Podkolzin and Kuzmenko. I could see him 100% wanting to come back and give it another shot with the Canucks. So not all hope is lost. The trade essentially isn't for nothing. There's still a chance that he comes back and gives it a go. So I'm not upset about the trade. Like, we essentially didn't really lose anything. We didn't give up a lot, and we took a chance on a player that could have turned out or maybe couldn't have. That's the kind of risks you get with players like that. Like, nobody saw that trade and instantly thought Kravtsov was going to be an elite player. If you did, you're delusional. I knew the risk. Everyone knew the risk. Management knew the risks. Everyone did, and I think that's why not a lot of teams were trading for him. But the Canucks thought, hey, let's give it a go and see how he does. And this is just, unfortunately, the outcome. But he could come back. You never know. But there you guys have it. That's my opinion on the whole thing. Like I said, the announcement was a few days ago that this was happening. I kind of thought about it a bit. I was going to make a video right away, but I really wanted to just like sit on it and think about it a little bit. And this is kind of like my thoughts on it, my official thoughts on it. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you guys are new, it means a lot if you guys subscribed. Like the video if you enjoyed. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.